Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing another emergency budget challenge. We're going to be doing a $35 emergency budget challenge. So hopefully this will feed our family all week. We have a family of 6, so I'm going to try to make it last all week. We're going to do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I am just assuming that you have the regular like salt and pepper, butter, oil, even bacon grease, seasonings at the house, whatever you use. If you have a seasoning that if I have a seasoning that you don't have, just kind of use whatever you think would work, that would season up your meals, that would give it some extra flavor. Just use whatever you have on hand. Do not feel like you have to use the exact ingredients that I use. That's just what I prefer, and it's just what I have on hand. I don't go to the grocery store every week. I don't go every day or whatever. If I don't have anything, I just really try to improvise. So I hope that these meals are a blessing to you and your family. I hope that you have some inspiration to provide some really cheap meals for your family. And if you are struggling, please reach out. There is so many different programs that you can use. There are food banks. You can go to your local churches. You can go anywhere. If you are struggling, just please reach out. Those programs are available for you to use. So let me go ahead and show you the groceries that I have, and then we'll get started cooking. Hey everyone, I wanted to show you my $35 grocery haul for this emergency challenge budget. Now, most of what you see here is going to be, I'm just basically doing 5 breakfasts, 5 dinners, but the dinners are going to supply the lunches because we're gonna have so much leftovers, because I'm mainly just doing soups. So this is kind of like a soup edition of our $35 grocery budget. So we have some biscuits over here, we have some milk, some flour. I always just buy in bulk and I put in here. So the price is for a small, like 1 or maybe 2 pound bag of flour. I have some blueberry mix, some potatoes. I always just throw it in my big bucket underneath one of my cabinets. So I just took out what I'm gonna need for some of my soup recipes. I have some peanut butter. This is actually a dozen eggs. I also buy that in bulk, so I just wanted to show you a dozen eggs because that's all I'm gonna be using for this video. I have a thing of mixed vegetables, some celery. This is Italian sausage, some cream cheese, bread, some heavy whipping cream, some ham. I got this half off at my discount store, so it's like $1.80, something like that. Bagels, some tortillas, cheese, cream cheese, apple, carrots, and some chicken. And I'm only going to use half of this, and I got this at my discount store, so I got that half off. So that's what I'm going to do for this haul. And this came out to be about $36. So we're going to see how many meals we can make with $36. This should feed our family of 6 for about a week. 5 to 7 days is what we're shooting for, and we're going to see how many meals we can get out of it. So for the first morning, I'm just scrambling up 3 eggs, and with the scrambled eggs, you can put in some milk if you have any. You can put in half and half. I like putting half and half, or heavy whipping cream, something like that with my eggs, just to make it go further, and it tastes amazing that way. And then you can salt and pepper your eggs. And we're just gonna have this with some bagels and cream cheese. Nothing fancy for the first day, but this is what me and the kids ate for the first day. So we have about 4 servings here. Okay, for this first soup, we're going to be making some healthy chicken potato soup. And we're going to put in about 2 tablespoons of butter. And we're just going to saute some vegetables here. So I'm just waiting for this butter to melt down properly. And then we're going to add in 3/4 cup of celery. And then a whole cup of carrots. And I'm just going to stir that just to kind of get everything combined with the butter. And then we're going to put the lid on and let this kind of saute for about 5 minutes, just to make sure that the carrots are getting nice and tender. And then we're going to add in some onions. I put in about half a cup, so about half an onion there. And then you'll see me adding in about 2 cloves of minced garlic.
And then I'm going to give that another good stir, and then I'm going to put the lid on and let that just kind of cook through for another couple minutes, maybe about 3 minutes, and give it another good stir. And just to make sure that the garlic isn't burning on the bottom, you don't not want the garlic to burn. And then we're going to add in some seasoning. So I put in 1.5 teaspoons of dry thyme, 1.5 teaspoons of parsley flakes, about a teaspoon of sea salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper. And then I'm going to stir that one more time just to get all the seasonings combined with the vegetables. And once that's all stirred through, we're going to add in our potatoes. So I have about 1.5 pounds of potatoes, so about 5 medium potatoes that I have diced and cut up. And I'm just going to lay that on top of my vegetables that I have here on the bottom. And then I'm going to add in my chicken. So I have about 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. So about 3 large chicken breasts is what I'm going to put on top of this. I did make sure all the fat was cut off of it. And then I'm going to add in 8 cups of chicken broth here, and I'm going to let this cook. I'm going to let this cook on medium-high for about 3 minutes, just until it comes to a boil. Then, as you can see here, it came to a boil, so now I'm going to turn my burner way back down to about in between medium and, and low. And I'm just going to let that simmer for about 25 minutes, and then the chicken should be done. It should be ready to shred, and then I'm just going to shred that, and then I'll add it back to my pot once it's done being shredded. Once I've shredded my chicken, it's done. It is ready to be devoured, and it was really, really good, and I like the potatoes, and it was an awesome mix to it. All right, for the next breakfast, I'm going to be making some Lazy Day biscuits. So it's not typical of something that I would make for breakfast for my kids, but I thought it'd be a fun breakfast for them, and you know what? They totally enjoyed it. It's basically like having donuts in the morning. That's kind of what I justified it as. I give them donuts sometimes, so you know what? This isn't quite anything different. So I'm just getting these biscuits, and I'm just coating them in cinnamon sugar. This cinnamon sugar is something that I always have on hand. So it's just cinnamon with sugar, and I put it in this like mason jar because I have it as like toast a lot. I'll put cinnamon sugar all over our toast. I don't know. I just kind of eat a lot of things with cinnamon, so I just kind of wanted to let you know about that. And I am just going to cook these biscuits according to what the can says on the package. I think these were at 350 for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and cook that. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and get my glaze ready. Now, this is not something that I put in the budget. So you definitely don't have to do this. It just adds more sugar to the meal anyways. But if you have a little bit of powdered sugar in your pantry, you could put a couple tablespoons of milk with it, and just create this glaze that you want. You can go, if you want it thicker, you can add more powdered sugar. Don't add as much milk. It kind of depends on the thickness that you want. Mine was a little bit more runny, and you'll see me put it on the biscuits, and this is going to be what it looks like after my biscuits are done cooking. They are looking super pretty and nice and brown, and I'm just going to kind of glaze them like so. They kind of like don't stick very well, so maybe I don't know, a thicker glaze would have been better, but this is what they had for breakfast the next day. Okay, and for this next meal, this is called cream cheese chicken soup. It is very, very creamy. You guys are going to want to make this meal, I promise you. So to the bottom of my crock pot, I put 2 large chicken breasts, and then I have half of a chopped onion, a cup of carrots, and then I'm going to put in a tablespoon of parsley, and then half a teaspoon of salt, and 2 cups of potatoes. I just used russet potatoes here. And I'm just going to make sure everything is nice and even on top. And then I'm going to add in 3 cups of chicken broth to that. And then I'm going to let this cook on high for about 4 hours, or you can do low for about 8 hours. Now, to my saucepan, I'm going to put in about 3 tablespoons of butter and just let that melt down. And then once that's melted all the way down, I'm going to mix that with 1/4 cup of flour. You can use a whisk, or I use this little spoon just because I'm lazy and I didn't want to use another dish or another utensil, because that means I have to clean that utensil, and I really don't want to have to clean a million things when I'm in the kitchen, because I'm in the kitchen so much. I'm always cooking, always baking, so I try to cut down as much as I can. But I end up using a whisk anyways, so should have just started with one. So I have here about 2 cups of milk, and I'm just going to kind of just whisk it in a little bit at a time. I'm just adding a little bit at a time and whisking through each time, getting it stirred consistently and getting all that flour stirred down properly. Okay, and now that our crock pot is done, it's been about 4 hours in the crock pot, and now that this sauce is nice and thick, I'm going to go ahead and transfer that to this crock pot here. I'm going to take out my chicken and shred that real quick, and then add in my sauce. Okay, and I'm just adding in that mixture, and then I'm just going to get everything combined properly, get it mixed through really good, and then I'm going to add in a whole block of cream cheese to that. Just adding little pieces at a time, and then I'm stirring it through. Okay, and this is what it looks like when it's all finished. It is super creamy. It is loaded with potatoes and chicken and carrots. You are going to love this meal. Out of all the meals that I make, you're going to want to make this one. Okay, this next meal is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to make a cheese omelet. So I've already scrambled up some eggs, and I am not the best at these omelets. So if you guys have a better method, then go for that. I just have never mastered this omelets, but I kind of just trying to make sure that all the liquid is cooked through before I do flip it. And I once got an omelet maker, but I didn't like the way that it cooked. I don't know, it just tasted different. It just tasted chemically. So I returned it. And anyways, I don't have any like omelet maker or anything like that. But that's the best that I can do right there by flipping it. And I'm just going to put some shredded cheese that I shredded earlier. And that's it. I'm just going to flip it. Now, if it's in your budget to put ham or peppers or anything like that in it, go for it. It's going to make it taste so much better. And then I made 3 omelets here. And then I had some toast with some peanut butter and bananas on top. And that is what we had for breakfast that morning. And it was delicious. Okay, for this next soup, I'm going to be making some ham and corn chowder. So I just have some bacon grease on hand. So instead of using butter, I'm just going to go ahead and use up that bacon grease. And I used about 2 sticks of celery that I had chopped up and about half an onion. And I'm just going to put that in the pan and let it saute for about 5 minutes until it is nice and tender. I added some green bell peppers from my garden. I have tons and tons of green bell peppers and jalapenos that I'm really trying to use up. And it's kind of the end of the season, and I just have so much right now. So I'm trying to use it up in all my dishes the best that I can. And I'm just going to let that all get tender. And then once that's all tender, then I'm going to go ahead and add in 1/4 cup of flour and add that to my mixture, get it all soaked up to that bacon grease. And then we're going to add in some chicken broth and some heavy whipping cream to get a nice creamy mixture. Next, I'm going to add in 2 cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to toss it around just to kind of get it mixed through a little bit, get it cooked through down just a little bit. I only want to cook it for about a minute. And then I'm going to add in my chicken broth. So I put in about 4 cups of chicken broth into the mixture, and I am going to kind of use this whisk. I don't know why I always use this small whisk, but I end up using this small whisk more than the others, I feel like. And I'm trying to get that flour mixture combined properly, get all the clumps out and everything like that. And then once that's mixed through, I'm going to go ahead and add in this whole 12-ounce bag of frozen corn. Now you can use a can of corn if you want to. That's completely up to you. And then I used about, I diced up this ham, and it was about a pound of ham that I had diced up finely. And then I have some potatoes. I put in about 2 large potatoes, about 2 cups worth, something around that. And then I'm going to put in a whole cup of heavy whipping cream. I'm going to give it a good stir. And then I'm going to add in my seasonings. So I'm going to add in a pretty decent amount of Italian seasoning, and then some pepper and some salt, just probably, I don't know, maybe half a teaspoon each, just to give it some good flavor to it. And then I'm going to give it another good stir and probably let this simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes just to let that soup mixture thicken up and give it a nice creamy texture. Okay, now that you can tell it's bubbling up pretty good, and the soup mixture is a lot more thicker now. And so I'm going to use, I don't have a potato masher, but I have this whisk that I'm going to use, and I'm just trying to mash up the potatoes a little bit just to kind of thicken up the sauce even more. And then you don't have to do that, but that's just showing you what I did. And here is the final product, and this was amazing. I believe it made 9 servings, 9 or 10 servings. So it made a whole bunch, and everybody loved it. I think this is one of my favorite soups. I love corn chowder. So good. All right, and here I'm going to be making some cheese quesadillas. So very plain and straightforward. I'm just going to scramble up these 4 eggs here, scramble up on my pan, and then I'm just going to make some quesadillas like normal, put some cheese on the bottom, some eggs on top of that, the cheese on top, and that's it. It's very simple, but the kids love it. I love a good quesadilla. Normally I would add in some meat. Usually when I make breakfast quesadillas, it's more like eggs and sausage and bacon with some cheese. Maybe for my husband, I would put in some peppers, some jalapenos, and green bell peppers with his. But for this meal, this is all that we're doing, is just some cheese and eggs to show you that you can make breakfast cheap. You can make all of these meals cheap. You don't have to be fancy or anything like that, or have a big budget to have good, nutritious meals. was focusing, but this is what it all looked like. And very cheesy, very delicious. I love a good quesadilla. And this is how many tortillas we had left over and the cheese that we had left over that we didn't use for the rest of the video. So plenty of leftovers. Okay, for this sausage and potato soup, I'm just going to ground up a pound of this Italian sausage. You don't have to use Italian. You can even use like breakfast sausage, kind of whatever you want to do there. So I just ground up the sausage, and while that's cooking, I'm going to get everything started in my crock pot. So I put in 4 cups of chicken broth, and I have about 2 to 3 large russet potatoes that I diced up. And then I'm going to put in about half an onion here, and then about 3 stalks of celery there that I had diced and cut up, and then about 2 cloves of garlic just to give it a little bit more flavor. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in my sausage that I had cooked, and then we will basically just make sure everything's covered, get it nice and even, and we're going to put the lid on and let it cook on low for about 6 hours, or you can let it cook on high for about 3 to 4 hours. You just want it until the potatoes are really nice and tender and soft to eat. Okay, and when that is basically all done cooking, we're going to get started on our thickening agent. So you're going to need about 4 tablespoons or a half a stick of butter, and just let that melt down. And then you're going to add in a 1/3 cup of flour. And I'm just going to mix it through to kind of cook it through a little bit. And then once it's all combined properly, we're going to add in some milk, just a little bit at a time. We're going to add in 2 cups of milk. Just to kind of thicken it up a little bit here. Once it's nice and thick, everything is stirred through properly, we're going to combine it to our soup mixture. You can see it's nice and hot, and everything is, the potatoes look nice and cooked through. And I'm literally just going to plop it in there and stir it through. And you probably let this, probably stir it for about another 5 minutes or so, just to get everything combined and help it thicken up into the soup mixture. All right, and now that everything's cooked through, I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of whatsoever sauce and give that a good stir, and your soup is ready to go. It is delicious. You're going to want to make this at home. I kind of thought it was close to that zuppa Toscana soup that Olive Garden has, except for without the kale and without the crushed red bell peppers, and but it was still really good. If you want to add some Parmesan cheese on top, if you have that in your pantry, go for it. This was a must to make. Okay, and the last breakfast that we have here, I'm just going to make these Jiffy blueberry muffins. I think this is the first time making the blueberry ones that I've ever tasted before. So I went ahead and made it the way that they say on the back of the box, except for I didn't have any eggs left. So I just added in some more milk just to make it a little bit more thinner so that it would make more muffins. And so I'm just stirring it through, getting it mixed properly, and I thought this would make about 6 muffins, but it actually only made 5. And I'm going to cook this according to the package, what the package says. So I think I cooked this at a 400 for maybe 10 minutes, something around that area. Okay, and I paired the muffins with this apple that I'm actually going to put some peanut butter, and then you can kind of put whatever you have in your pantry. If you don't have anything, it's 100% okay with just peanut butter. I mean, I have that all the time with just, peanut butter apples. But I kind of wanted to make it fun, and I had some chocolate chips in the pantry that I put on a couple of them, but mainly I put raisins on them, and the kids really liked that. I don't think I've ever made that for the kids for breakfast, but they really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching this emergency budget challenge. I hope that it was a blessing to you and your family. I hope you got some new recipes that you could use that would be helpful. And I hope to see you in the next video, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Bye for now.